Parsha Emor, Rabbi Isai, has a lot, of course, to offer, and it's nothing's a coincidence. During the process of Sfiras Omer, which we're in, counting down the days, 34 days in the Omer, literally moving very, very close to Shavuos already. Which again, we certainly want you to see if you could work it out to be in the neighborhood. We have a beautiful program, Shavuos night, so we'll be giving you more details as we get closer. But again, it's certainly a wonderful opportunity if we are reading about the mitzvah of Sfiras Omer, and we are at the same time involved in that mitzvah of Sfiras Omer. It makes a lot of sense to maybe focus for a moment about Sfiras Omer, and to really think about what it is that we're doing with this counting, what it is that's, what message should we take away from it, what feeling should we have regarding this concept of counting down the days. And when you want to sort of understand a mitzvah, it's a very good idea. If you want to appreciate a mitzvah and you want to understand what it is that you're doing, it doesn't always give you maybe the answer that will satisfy you, but it's certainly a good chance. You go to the Sefer Chinuch. Sefer Chinuch was a sefer written by a Rishon for his son, a bar mitzvah boy. And he wrote a sefer so that his bar mitzvah boy, once he became of age to actually have to fulfill the mitzvahs of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, would have a sefer that he can refer to. Because one of the big questions that teenagers always ask is why? Why do we have this, and why do we have that, and why do I do this, and why does God care about that? And there's a constant why question that goes on amongst teenagers, which is certainly understandable, certainly legitimate. The true answer to any reason why HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave us a mitzvah is really not knowable. HaKadosh Baruch Hu pretty much did not give us the reasons for any of the mitzvahs. So the question of why is a very tough question to answer, and pretty much can never be answered absolutely. But if we can learn some things and appreciate certain concepts based on the mitzvah, that's certainly a wonderful thing. So, what does he say? And it's really, it would pay, maybe I should have given out a sheet, we could read it together, but I guess, that would be a little too unique in this kind of environment. But let me just sort of paraphrase for you. And if you want to actually go back to the Sefer Chinuch and look at the words, I would recommend that, because they're very powerful. The Sefer Chinuch tells us in no uncertain terms, in terms of the mitzvah of Usfartem Lachem. We read in this week's Parsha, the mitzvah of counting the Omer. So from the second day of Pesach to the night of Shavuos, 49 days are counted down till we get to this incredible day called Maimon Har Sinai. That's what the Jewish people were counting down. And they knew what they were counting down to, because they knew that there was a special message that Kadosh Baruch Hu gave them, that the reason why I'm taking you out of Mitzrayim is not just simply to be emancipated. And he says very, very clearly, and the Farshim say that greater than the miracle of the freedom that the Jewish people received when they were taken out of Egypt, greater than that event, greater than that miracle, greater than that kindness is the kindness that Kadosh Baruch Hu did to them 49 days later. The kindness of giving us the Torah. And he says, Rabbi saying we have to really think about it and know this, and maybe we've heard it 1,000 times. But hearing it 1,000 times and somewhat internalizing it, and actually thinking and listening to what the Sefer Chinuch is telling us. We need to understand the entire purpose of creation. The entire reason why there's a universe. Certainly the entire reason why why there are people in this world. To actually carry out a mission of why we're here, Rabbi, is because of the Torah. The Torah is the greatest day, the greatest moment, the greatest event in human history. And it's when you stop and reflect upon that and start wondering and thinking that maybe there are people who don't want that mission, or people who reject that mission, or people who don't appreciate that mission. How ironic and how crazy is it that we somehow don't understand that we are being given this entire universe was because of us, in specific relation to the idea that we have the Torah. The Torah was not given to the other nations. They were offered it, but they were not given the Torah. We were given the Torah. They all said what's in it, they all rejected it. We accepted it. So Klal Yisrael, who understood, they had this clarity in their minds. Doesn't matter how great it was that we went out of Mitzrayim, the miracles were astounding. The 10 Makos were amazing. We had a beautiful Seder to talk about all the miracles. They all pale ultimately in comparison to the gift of the Torah. And therefore says the Sefer HaChinuch, in order for us to truly reflect and to appreciate that quality, that uniqueness, that special relationship that HaKadosh Baruch Hu has chosen us for this particular mission of fulfilling the mandate of the world, the universe, the entire concept of why God bothered to create this unimaginable world. I don't know if anybody has the time, but it's really kedai because, again, we are so influenced by the scientific, simpletons of the world. And one of the, Mark Levin, who I like listening to when I can, he has a show on Fox on Sunday nights. And he interviews a certain person once a week. And this particular person he interviewed, I forgot the guy's name. I think he's a Jewish guy, but certainly doesn't not seem to be a very religious fellow. But the guy's got like 10 PhDs. You can tell, just the minute he talks 2 sentences, you can tell what a genius he is. And Markman is not a very religious guy himself. He's a strong Jew and a big advocate for Eretz Yisrael. But it's amazing to hear the subject matter that they spent about 45 minutes talking about. This guy is truly one of the true experts on the scientific level. He's he's got the credentials to really, and he's written books, of course. And his whole thesis of the main book that he wrote in his life, one of maybe, I think, 20 that he's written, was this idea of buying into this whole scientific simpleton notion that we sort of can get God out of the equation by simply buying into evolution. And it makes the point that this world, to believe that it just came here by chance. The science claims they have the answers, but they don't have the answers at all. There's such gaping holes in the Darwinian theory. But everyone wants to feel smug because we're living in it. And he said he traced it back to the mid-1980s, maybe the early 1980s, where instead of the scientific approach of sort of being an agnostic, where, I don't know. Well, the scientists just didn't know. It's a good kasha. And they would say, as they say, it's a good, maybe one day we'll answer the question. I don't know. Now, you don't get any type of indication that a human being, might not be able to answer the question of how did the universe get here. I absolutely know that there is no God. The atheistic approach coming out of the scientific community is with a passion. Part of this whole left-wing liberal, type of, it's really like a leftist approach to the idea that get rid of religion, get rid of any morality and any type of fundamental ethics. We want to be able to promote the idea that get rid of God. Doesn't belong anywhere in the college campuses or anywhere in the scientific arena. And he talks about how shallow and how false it is. How it makes no sense. If you actually just examine the world, and it's really pays to listen to it. Pays to hear intelligent people talk about, and they don't have to be religious, but they have to be honest. Finding honest people in today's world is indeed very rare. You have to, first of all, be awake to hear somebody honest. So Rabbi say, when you stop and reflect, so God actually had a plan. That there's no way that we just sort of got here. This is something that we have to fundamentally believe. But again, we have to think about it. And once you think about it, and once you internalize it, once you recognize, oh my gosh, there is a creator. And he had a purpose, he had a mission. And that mission for us was to receive the Torah. So he says, how could we not count down those days? How do those days not become the most critical days of human history? And there are guys in this room, I know it because I hear them in my shir. They will tell you to the minute how many minutes are left till the end of the year. Summer vacation begins in 6 days, 17 days, 47 minutes, 8 seconds, and I don't know, maybe they break it down even, like why? Because, what do you mean why? Vacation, freedom, I get to run around, 12 weeks of the black hole, we'll just talk about soon, and what are you talking about? This is fantastic. I can surgically put, what's that game again? Fortnite in one hand. I could put the pods in the ears, and I got the other thing in the other hand. And I can literally escape for 12 weeks. Okay, so what do you count? Are you counting down? Of course you count down. It's serious. It's important. Take a typical guy who gets free tickets to the Super Bowl in February with 50-yard line seats. Okay, I guarantee he's got a calendar and he's knocking down the days until he actually gets to attend the game. Because some things are important. What's important to us? Great question to ask ourselves. What's important to us? What am I counting down? What am I looking towards? What am I looking forward to? Everybody saying now what we should be looking forward to? What every Jew needs to be counting down? What HaKadosh Baruch Hu, what the Sefer HaChinuch tells HaKadosh Baruch Hu is by telling us and by commanding us to count down the days between Pesach and Shavuos, Rabbi Isai. And think about this. This is not just a one-time event. This is every single year. Every single year, a Jew has to understand. 10th day of the Omer, 11th day of the Omer. What am I saying? It seems like an empty. You have to ask yourself what you're saying, but we do have to ask ourselves what we're saying. What I'm saying is the greatest event in human history is just a few weeks away. It's getting closer, and it's getting closer, and I have to learn to appreciate it. I have to learn to look. I have to think about looking forward to that event. I have to think about what that event means. Not just what it means for the world and what it means for the Jewish people. What does it mean for me? And these are hard things to think about when we're bombarding our brains with everything but spiritual concepts. But a little bit take a moment in time to actually reflect, to maybe share at the Shabbos table, to maybe articulate these ideas so that you're actually saying something that might actually have an impact. Because when you count, you are showing that you feel it's important. You say 34 days in the Omer, 35 days in the Omer, and so much so, does every little thing that we do make a difference in our psyche and our emotions, Rabbi Isai? Every little thing makes a big difference. Every word makes a difference. I always say, I joke with the guys, but I don't mean it as a joke. I mean it seriously. When we say certain things, we correct certain people with, a ridiculous correction. Yesterday at 1:30 when I was walking outside, no, Rabbi, it was 1:47. It wasn't one. I always say, don't correct your wife that way. If your wife says 1:30 instead of 1:47, let it be 1:30. What do you have to always find a mistake? Because everything makes, the way you talk and the things you say to somebody makes a difference. And the things we say to ourselves make a difference, Rabbi Isai. So much so that the Sefer HaChinuch says, that's why instead of going 49, 48, 47 like a typical countdown, we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Why? Why don't we count down 49, 48, blast off, Yeshua's, okay, Gavaldik, Mazel Tov. How come we're going up instead of down? And he says, because if you start up with the highest number, and right after the second day of Pesach, okay, 49 days left in the Omer. That's a big number, 49. Might get me a little down. It might sort of affect me a little bit. Oh my gosh, it's such a far time away. That's what the Sefer HaChinuch says. So we start with 1, which feels it's a small number. Oh, it's right. It's not even so far away. This is a subtle psychological difference, Rabbi Isai. But you know what? Apparently that's how we're made. We're wired that way. Where small things can have profound impacts. You say you do something subtle, but it makes a difference. And that's why the Sefer HaChinuch says that we start with 1, and then he asks the obvious question. So if you always want to keep the lower number, when you get to the midway point, instead of going 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, then you should switch. And you should say, these are how many days left in the Omer. It's an amazing question that he has. So in other words, even then it would make a difference. If you start now, we say 34, we should say 15. There are 15 days left in the Omer. There are 14 days left. What are we doing? 35, 34, 35, 36, 37. He says, once you start one way, we don't want to confuse people. But it means that it would matter. Words matter. Emotions matter. Statements matter. And therefore, for us to stop and to reflect upon how important this time is that we're working towards. How important it is for us to reflect that this happened in space and in time. This was a real event. We actually were in the Midbar, and we were counting down the days. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, you need to feel this way every year. Every year you need to understand how important Torah is, how incredible this event was. How I did something that I never did for any other people, and nor did any other people ever experience this event. We've said it many times. We are not like any other religion. We are not like the rest of the nations. No other religion in all of human history has ever been able to claim this event. Anything close to it. You'll never find any religion saying we once in a stadium and a thing came down, 50,000 people stood up and applauded because our God came to speak to us and we all appreciated, and that's why we started this religion. We are loyal to God because right there in the stadium in Rome or in Greece or in who knows where, we witnessed this. How come? If the Jews got away with it, how come nobody else tried to get away with it? They copy everything else we do. There's some things you just can't copy. It would be nice if we would focus. It really would be nice. So if every single word we say counts, every single emotion counts, every single communication counts. I'll just jump to the end of the Parsha, just give you another example from the end of the Parsha of how subtle we are and how every word makes a difference, how everything we can do to show our love, our appreciation to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, to our spouse, to our parents, everything matters. The smallest thank you and the smallest hello matters. At the end of the Parsha, we don't put the fellow who blasphemed HaKadosh Baruch Hu, he did a terrible Aveira. But they weren't sure if he needed the death penalty or not. Maybe he was able to get out of the death penalty. And we didn't want to put him in the same jail as the guy who was gathering wood on Shabbos. Why not put him in the same jail? They're both sort of on death row. One's on maybe death row, one's a certain death row. He just wasn't sure. The Makoshesh were not sure about what his death penalty is. Is it skeel? Is it strafe? What is it? And the other one, we're not sure that he's going to die. So put him in the same jail. What's the big deal? Let's save the space. But no, you can't put him in the same jail. Because you put the blasphemer in the same jail as the guy gathering the wood, he's going to think it's done deal. I got the death penalty. I'm like this guy. We're in the same boat. We're in the same situation. I'm definitely getting the death penalty. But it's not true. You're not definitely getting the death penalty. We're not sure you're going to get the death penalty. We don't want to give him that feeling of a greater level of a depressed state, a greater level of apathy, that there's no hope for me. I'm done. How subtle is that? How far-reaching is that emotion that Kosh Baruch Hu goes and says, no, don't put him in that same jail cell. I don't want to inflict any more emotional harm or pain to this guy than is necessary. Come on. A, he's on death row. B, he just blasphemed HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And see how much of a difference it's going to make anyway. He's in the jail cell either way. No, it makes a difference. The Malachim asked Avram Avinu, you will learn this Rashi 20 times already. The Malachim asked Avram, where's your wife Sarah? And Rashi says, well, they knew where his wife was. Why are you asking? No, because they wanted Avram to come to articulate, she's a real tznuah. My wife is a special lady. She's a tznuah, and she doesn't really hang around places like this where strangers come into the house. So she's where she is, and we are where we are. But my wife doesn't really belong here. He didn't know his wife was a tznuah. He didn't know who Sarah was. The Malachim knew exactly what Sarah was, but they wanted Avram to articulate it. Why? Doesn't Avram already know 1,000% how amazing his wife is? They're married many, many years already. The answer is, you know what? You can be married many years, but another statement, another feeling, another emotion, how special my wife is, makes a difference. Makes a difference when we say it to ourselves. Makes a difference when our spouse hears it or our friend hears it. You're a really good friend. I really appreciate you. You're always there for me. I never have a chance to tell you, but you've been there for me. I really appreciate that. What he knows. What difference does it make? We're good friends. We've been friends since second grade. Do I have to mention it? You know what? It makes a difference. It makes a difference even for you. It adds your appreciation to who he is and what he's done for you. So when we're counting down the days and we're showing by every single night, mentioning how many days are left, we're actually experiencing, in a sense, that anticipation that the Jewish people anticipated. And the Jewish people felt when they went out of Mitzrayim. And that means that we have an ability to sort of get into that same mindset. And to somehow envision. I know our minds are very often on the cheesecake or on this or on that or whatever else going on Shavuos night. But even if we took a few seconds to stop and to reflect, my gosh, what happened on this night? On this night, the Jewish people, they actually went to sleep, but early in the morning they got up and they went out to Har Sinai, and the heavens opened up, and the mountain was lifted up over them, and they heard the words of Anochi Hashem Elokecha. Just think, that happened in real time this evening, and we're counting down the days to that event because nothing is more important than that particular event. It's powerful. It's incredible. And we want to learn that Torah, and we want to communicate it, and we want to get you guys to be more appreciative of it. It's hard. Think about it. You ever think about which guys learn and which guys don't learn? Which guys can somehow connect to the Gemara and which guys sort of say, I can't. There may be more than one answer to that question, but I know one of the answers is, what is this? It's irrelevant. It's not important to me. What's this going to do for me? It's not going to get me into college. It's not going to get me ahead. It's not going to do anything for me. Why are we learning about a cow or about a divorce or about throwing, about what is going on here? But I say that can only be said by somebody, and I'm not saying this chas v'sholom in a disrespectful way. I'm saying it in a very sad way. I'm not blaming anybody because in growing up today, it's hard. But it only could be said by somebody who does not understand that every time you open up a Gemara, every time you learn a Mishnah, every time you read a Rashi, every single moment that you're advancing yourself in learning, you're changing the world. You're accomplishing something that literally is earth-shattering. You wouldn't say that if you were really counting down the days to Matan Torah. God gave us the Torah to learn, to appreciate, to analyze. Because it's the whole purpose of our creation. We walk into shir like, just wake me up when it's over. I'm going to sleep. We're done. How sad is that? How is that so far from the true reality of what this world is about? Rishon Bar Yochai, yesterday was the big Rishon Bar Yochai day. Rishon Bar Yochai spends 12 years in a cave. 12 years in a cave. And the Gemara says during those years, him and his son languished in that cave in such excruciating circumstances. They had a miraculous carob tree that supplied some food for them. They had a miraculous spring that came and gave them some water. But the Gemara says that they for 12 years, they ran away from the Romans just with the clothing on their back. And that clothing was going to waste away. What? Question? So the clothing was going to waste away. So the Gemara says that they put the clothing down and they put it on the ground, and they spent all day when they learned Torah covered in sand. Because they knew if they were going to wear their clothing every single day, they're not going to have clothing. And if they have to daven, which they davened every day, how in the world are they going to be able to daven without any clothing? So they saved their clothing for the times that they davened during the day, and the rest of the day they were literally covered in sand, like some beach bum in Venice. In Venice Boulevard, and that's how they existed. That's how they existed. So after 12 years of lying in sand every single day, you can imagine the cracks and the deep cracks in the skin of Rishon Bar Yochai. And the Gemara tells us in Shabbos that his relative Pinchas ben Yair, the great Pinchas ben Yair, was massaging him, trying to soften the skin. And he was so pained. He saw the incredible damage done to the body of Rishon Bar Yochai. He started to cry. Pinchas ben Yair started to cry. And the tears started rolling down his face, and one of the tears fell into the cracks of Rishon Bar Yochai's skin. And he let out a kvetch. He let out a painful cry. Rishon Bar Yochai did. And Pinchas ben Yair said the obvious word that any of us would have said. He said, "Oili shursicha b'kach." He said, "Woe to me that I see you this way. Woe to me that you are so ravaged and you have such a damaged body. You have to endure such pain. You know what pain is if your skin ever cracked. You know what it is underneath your feet. Very painful." Oili shursicha b'kach, said Pinchas ben Yair. Rishon Bar Yochai says, "No. Don't say oili. How could you say oili? Woe to me that I see you this way. You should be saying ashrecha." Shusani B'kach, says the Gemara. You should be happy that you see me this way. Happy? I see you with such ravaged skin and I should be happy? And the Gemara says, yeah. Because Pinchas ben Yair before Shimei Choy went into that cave was on a higher level of learning. And the Gemara says for every question that Shimei Choy asked, Pinchas ben Yair gave 12 answers. But after the 12 years in the cave, Shimei Choy spent, you can imagine the Kedusha. Maybe that's when, according to certain opinions that he wrote the Zohar, I believe that might have been when the Zohar was written. And he says, and the Gemara says that, but when he came out of the cave, for every question Pinchas ben Yair asked, Shimei Choy had 24 answers. Shimei Choy was already a great, great Tana before he went into that cave. But he became a greater Tana. He became a deeper Jew. He became more understanding of the depths and the beauty of Torah. And when you are in that position where you have grown in Torah, then the difference between level A and level B, that advancement between here and there is so worth it. We don't have to question, we don't have to, Baruch Hashem, endure what Shimei Choy endured. Some people complain about dormitory situations or the food sometimes in certain yeshivas, but at the end of the day, it is far superior than being in a cave, eating carobs and water, lying in sand for 12 years. Zero comparison. Yet you hear comments. What's the word? What's it going to do for me? How am I going to be different? Why do I have to do this? And Rabbi say, at the end of the day, you really can't put it into words. The words are, this is our life. And this is all worth it, because the more Torah a person has, the more he grows, the deeper he becomes, the more insightful that he is. He's a different Jew. That's what we are celebrating as we count down the days. This incredible gift that is a lifeblood to our existence. So whatever we can do now, yes, going to Eretz Yisrael is great. And then I would say it's a must, not to say Eretz Yisrael, but going to yeshiva after high school is a must. People who just go right into college, it doesn't work. We have the history, we see what goes on. We're not ready yet. We have to solidify who we are as Jews. And the truth of the matter is, Torah never should leave us, no matter what we do. I know doctors, I know high-level business people who have 1,000 phone calls to make every single day, and they're all over the world. And the day will not go by before they will learn. An hour, 2 hours, whatever it might be, that shir, or that phone chavrusa, whatever it is, they understand this is my lifeblood. I've got no chance at success if I don't stay connected to the Torah. That's what we're celebrating. That's what we're counting down. That's what we're trying to do here every single day. As we sort of herd you back into shir. And unfortunately, if we don't send you in, who knows? Oh, nobody called me in, so it's already 9:27. But no one called me. Certain things we don't have to be called for. I don't think we need to be told when Game 7 of the NBA Finals is that, we're going to be there. Lahavdil Elef Havdalas. Because that seems like right now we care about it. We have to care about Torah, but you say, because that's who we are. We are inexorably linked to that phenomenon and to that eternal bond between us and HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It's through the Torah. That was the ring that was used to betroth us to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. He gave us the Torah. That was the special gift that made us His forever. So let's really stop and reflect and appreciate what we have and what we can do. It was a beautiful event yesterday. I still don't know how Rabbi Einhorn managed. I saw him at a bris this morning. It still boggles my mind that the man could give 19 hours worth of shir. He told me, Baruch Hashem, he thought he was going to faint for the 14th shir, and Baruch Hashem, he took some quick protein and he survived, Baruch Hashem, and he's doing well. He had a good night's sleep. But really the most important message in my mind, I'm very happy that Baruch Hashem Yavna made $500,000. All that is fantastic. But to me, the most powerful message is, why bother? And if you look at the words, you look at the literature of what he was trying to say is, hey, this is it. Torah there's nothing more important than Torah. If I can highlight the chashivas of Torah, if I can give over to the world the importance, that as difficult as it is to stay up for 19 hours giving shurim, but you know what? This is who we are. We love the Torah. Are willing to give up for it. To the extent of, yes, even staying up and giving, and the energy required for 19 consecutive hours. Mind-boggling. Rabbi said, but that's an important message. And every single thing we do, every single day that we can do even a subtle statement, a subtle communication, a subtle reinforcement of this powerful idea to us and to people around us. Every message is powerful. As Hashem, we will be zocheh through that commitment that we make to Torah learning to go michal l'chol, be zocheh to be a